Hey there guys, it's another Sunday. Welcome back to Should You Make as an Alt, this time featuring the last class in my arsenal, Deathblade. And you heard that correctly, this is going to be the last one of these videos coming out for the foreseeable future, as this is my last and 15th character that I have. You'll notice I've started to level up my low-paying alts to 1460. Perhaps I will do some sort of like showcase on them at 1460 in like raids or something. I don't know. We'll try to figure out something. I have no concrete idea to replace this series though. I wish I did. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions. But until then, let's get on with this video, because we still have a Deathblade to talk about and an alt that you should probably or maybe not make. I won't spoil it. No, I will. I think Deathblade is a pretty decent alt, and I'll tell you why. Before we get into it, of course, like, subscribe, the usual, algorithm, etc., etc. Deathblade. Deathblade is probably the first class that a lot of people will look at in the game because they go, ooh, wow, assassin, I want to do stab moves. But as far as Deathblade goes, not like your traditional assassin in games, really. Reaper is much more rogue-like. But for what Deathblade is, I think Deathblade does a great job at being a Deathblade. Both Deathblade specs are primarily specialization-focused, crit secondary, both Surge and Remaining Energy, which are the class engravings. I'm currently playing Remaining Energy on my alt. Surge is just as fine. They're both basically the same. Remaining Energy, you can make the argument that it is harder to play, because Remaining Energy, you need to hit pretty much all of your attacks as back attacks, including Surge, whereas with Surge, the only real source of damage you have is Surge, so you only really have to hit the back with Surge. But equally so, if you're missing Surge, you're probably going to do much less damage than Remaining Energy, even if Remaining Energy is only hitting like half their abilities. So I don't know. Basically, both of the class engravings have different playstyles, despite being similar. So basically, pick whichever you like. They both work fine. They're both good. They both do plenty of damage. As far as sets go, I'm sure you've noticed with my engravings, one of my engravings is Ambush Master. Yes, it's an entropy class, meaning once you get the entropy set, nothing different really changes. It's just your damage goes up. You just have to hit the back. Not a surprise there. I usually just gloss over Relic sets unless they do something to the class. Like, getting Nightmare doesn't change the playstyle of a class. Getting Entropy doesn't change the playstyle. It just lets you do more damage. So, the class more or less will play the same. As far as Deathblade goes, Remaining Energy, the playstyle feels quite smooth, even with my pretty scuffed setup of just under 1500 spec. And what I mean by that is, sorta what you do as a Deathblade, at least for Remaining Energy. The idea is, much like other classes, Maelstrom is sort of your buff, your damage buff. It's not necessarily a damage buff, as much as it is, you can see the first tripod there. It increases your Death Orb meter gain by quite a bit. And your identity as a Deathblade is your arts, alternatively called Deathblade, or Death Orbs. And when you fill up 3 orbs, you get the level 3 trance buff. What does it mean? It gives you... 1, it gives you more damage. 2, if you have Remaining Energy, it changes what tier of buff you get. So you can see here, Death Trance doesn't consume Death Orb meter for 2 seconds when activated, so your meter won't go down when you activate Trance for 2 seconds. And it gives you 12% attack speed and move speed, and 12% attack power, depending on the amount of orbs you have available. So, if you use a 1 orb Death Trance Surge, you will gain 12% move speed, attack speed, and 12% attack power. If you have 2 orbs, you'll do 12% attack move speed and then 24% attack power. And then 12, 12, 36 for 3 orbs. Makes sense? So remaining energy focuses on orbs, whereas Surge is a bit different in that it focuses on stacks. So basically, with Surge, your Surge attack, your Death Trance Surge, not the engraving Surge, does damage not based on the Death Orbs, but it does it based on the stacks. And you can see here, when Death Trance is activated, skills other than basic attacks and awakening skills, so literally any skill that isn't your awakening, it will gain stacks every 0.4 seconds to a max of 20 stacks. This causes damage to increase up to 100%, 110%, 120%, I believe. Yeah. And then you drop a big fat surge, rinse, repeat. So, like I said, similar, but different. Different enough to where they feel different, like significantly different. I can't tell you which you will prefer, whether you prefer building stacks in trance or just building up orbs to go into trance to immediately go out of trance with a surge. Completely up to you. Again, though, the main difference is with Surge engraving, you only have to hit the back one time, and that is with your Surge. With remaining energy, you need to be hitting back attacks with all of your attacks. You need to be hitting it with Blitz Rush, Soul Absorber, Void Strike, and definitely with Surge, because if you don't, you're going to be losing tons and tons of damage. Now, we'll get into, like, the basic rotation for remaining energy. Surge has a lot more depth to it in that I don't play Surge, and the only Surge that I've played is in Trixion, so I'm not super familiar with it. So I don't feel like I'm very qualified to give you rotation advice, even at 14-15 for Surge. There are plenty of good resources out there, though, and I highly recommend you check them out if you are interested in the Surge style. For remaining energy, though, it's pretty chill, pretty simple. Like I said, a lot of your classes that you play in this game have, like, a damage window buff. Maelstrom is essentially that for you, even though it doesn't necessarily increase your damage, it just increases your orb gain. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open with a Maelstrom, you put on Expose Weakness, and then you use your main 3 abilities. Now, if you have enough spec, that will fill your spec meter. I usually am able to do it if I add in a counter, but if you don't have enough, you can always use Moonlight Sonic to fill your orbs. Either way, you do your rotation, fill up all your orbs, and then Surge, and then you just kind of rinse, repeat. I'm just going to kind of go through the motions here while I talk. You can see, almost got it full, but it's basically non-stop. Then I just have some downtime, so I do that. You always want to save your main 3 abilities for when you have Maelstrom up, because you gain significant amounts more orbs. And you can see, it's just this over and over. Obviously, it's not going to be this chill when the boss is trying to move around and such. But once you get into the groove, you can see it flows very well, and it doesn't feel bad. Do I think Deathblade is a strong ult at 14-15? Yeah, absolutely. This character is very strong for it having no relic set, it having subpar spec stats, level 5 gems. It has nothing crazy on it. I can still MVP in Descalute, sometimes even verse people with relic sets, depending on how good they are and what class they are. Deathblade, very strong. I do recommend it as an ult if it looks interesting to you. Just be aware, it's one of the few back attack classes in the game that I will tentatively recommend. It is certainly harder than your average class where you can just kind of hit master it to death. I will say, though, that Deathblade has some pretty good mobility tools, whereas, like, a class like Deadeye, I said, doesn't have very good mobility. You'll have people saying, but dexterous shot and somersault. Yeah, sure. Deathblade has basically the same two things, except better. Spin Cutter, which is your exposed weakness debuff, which makes you do more damage. This is literally just dexterous shot, but better. And Dark Axle is literally somersault, but better because it can go over guardians. It's Deadeye, but better in every way, in terms of mobility. It can't compare to Reaper, but Reaper, I think, is just the most mobile class probably in the game, so I don't think it's a fair comparison. As far as back attackers go, I think Deathblade has plenty of repositional tools that aren't terrible to use, and I think you can get away with using it. Because, you know, say like the boss spins around, you're at the front of the boss, well, you have your abilities up, so you're ready to do some rotation. You pop a Maelstrom, you use Spin Cutter to get back around the boss, you see what I mean? Like, it just feels natural. You hit him with a Surge, pretend the boss turned around again, so now the ass is the face and the face is the ass. You just Dark Axle him, and you do it again. You see what I mean? Like, you don't have to spend the majority of your time trying to chase the boss's butt cheeks. I don't know. I know a lot of people have very vocal opinions on classes being talked about like that, because they're their mains, and I'm talking about them like they're an alt. Fact of the matter is, like, I love Soul Fist. I love it to death. Obviously, if I hated the class, I wouldn't play it as my main. But you can see, even though it was one of my first videos I did, I don't recommend Soul Fist as an alt. It's just not good. It has a lot of problems, and yes, the problems can be dealt with. But it's an alt class, man. A lot of people aren't here to play it like their main, and that's what you have to keep in mind. Anyways, to sum it all up, do I recommend Deathblade as an alt? Yeah, I do. Do I think it's strong at 14-15 even with minimal investment? Yeah, I do. I think it's a fun alt to play, and it's one of the few back attack alts that I would recommend. The one big downside, again, that I'm sure you've noticed is that it's specs, and spec classes are just more expensive in this game. That's how it goes. But if it looks interesting to you, definitely give it a try. I enjoy playing my 14-15 Deathblade, and it's definitely a character that I'm probably going to push up to 14-60 next. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching my last episode of this, at least for now. And let me know if you guys have any ideas to replace this series with, or just different series in general. Different ideas, let me know. I like giving you guys what you want to watch, obviously. And I like to mix it in with stuff that I like to do. You know, Arconomics, I like it, even though it's not the most popular series. It definitely has a lot of people that enjoy it, and I like to make it. So, it is what it is. Anyways, like if you like, dislike if you dislike, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye. This is a banger, by the way. Alright, I'll go. I'll listen to this on my own time. Bye.